The Netherlands just humiliated Sweden.
Courtesy of Memphis Depay. Somerville!
And honestly, the 5-1 scoreline was the least terrifying part.
What a finish. 5-1. And that is demolition job. That is an absolute battering, by the way. They've absolutely done them.
Because this wasn't just a win. This wasn't just a statement. This looked like the moment the Netherlands transformed from a dark horse into a genuine World Cup nightmare. A team that can score from anywhere, attack at full speed, and suddenly has emerging stars exploding onto the biggest stage in football. And if what we saw against Sweden is the real version of this Dutch side, the rest of the World Cup has a serious problem.
The Dutch team was more effective.
To understand why this performance matters so much, you need to remember where the Netherlands were just days before it. The Japan game was supposed to be a statement. It ended 2-2.
After 42 minutes, this fella, Robbo, said, "This is the worst game of the tournament so far."
Negative.
And then it took off.
And while a draw on the opening match day isn't a disaster, the way it happened left real questions hanging in the air. Netherlands created chances, yeah, they showed the attacking quality people expected, but they couldn't really control the game. They couldn't manage moments when they needed to. They looked like a side still figuring out who they were. And Japan, a team built on tactical discipline and clinical execution, exposed exactly that. Koeman's side going into this tournament had always carried a version of the same problem. Too passive in certain stretches, too reactive when teams press them. And the number 9 situation, the focal point every good Dutch team needs, just wasn't settled. Memphis Depay is their all-time top scorer, but at 32 and coming off an inconsistent club season, relying on him as the primary striker felt like a gamble. The attacking talent across the squad was obvious. What wasn't obvious was whether it could all function together.
We always feel like the Dutch defense and midfield are good. You know, they're going to do their job. They're going to keep the ball. They're going to progress the game. But it's always the front line, which what you worry about with the Netherlands, with what you worry about with the Dutch.
Sweden, meanwhile, arrived with genuine momentum. Their 5-1 win over Tunisia had people talking. Isak and Gyökeres together up front. 2 elite Premier League strikers playing as a partnership. What felt like a problem nobody had a clean answer to. There were real questions about whether the Dutch backline, occasionally stretched against Japan, could handle that kind of quality. So this wasn't a walkover fixture, this was a measuring stick, and from the very first minute, the Dutch came out swinging in a way we simply hadn't seen from them yet in this tournament. The intensity was different, the aggression off the ball was different, the directness in possession was different. They weren't waiting to see what Sweden would do, they were telling Sweden exactly what was coming, and then doing it anyway. Here's the thing about this performance that makes it genuinely scary. Look at the raw stats and it almost looks like a close game. Sweden took 16 shots, Netherlands took 10. Possession finished 49-51. If you glanced at those numbers without seeing the score, you'd assume a competitive match, maybe a 2-1 or a 1-0. Instead, it ended 5-1. And the reason comes down to one brutal difference between these two teams. The Netherlands don't waste chances, not in this mood. They generated 2.61 expected goals from those 10 shots. Sweden generated just over 1.01 from 16.
They ain't it. I'm telling you now. Sweden are going to finish 3rd at best. They're not that good.
The Dutch carved out real openings, high-probability situations, while Sweden had plenty of the ball and did very little with it in the places that actually matter. That efficiency started with Bart Verbruggen, and honestly, the question of how Koeman hadn't been starting him from the beginning gets harder to answer after watching this. Within 5 minutes, he'd already made his mark. A direct ball played up to him, and instead of the touch going sideways or the move breaking down, Verbruggen placed it perfectly, held off the pressure from the Swedish defender, found Reinders, continued his run, got into the box, and finished the move he'd started.
But the link-up play for Verbruggen up to him and his hold-up play getting it into Reinders, getting it off of Gakpo, which was a beautiful cross, and burying it in the first half, 5 minutes in. The link-up play, it was direct Route 1 football with a tinge of that Dutch total football quality and creativity and cinema around it as well.
That first goal wasn't lucky. It was the product of a striker who knows his job completely. Physical, composed, always moving toward danger. He scored twice, both from inside the box. Both finished without hesitation.
We'll look at those strikes and go, wow, they are cultured little finishes. Fox in the box, approaches on goal, and that's what the Dutch lacked against Japan last week. Cutting edge.
And in between those goals, he was a constant problem for Sweden's centre-backs.
He treats matchups as centre-halves personally. He takes that personally. And I need centre-backs to start taking it personally too. Because he ragdolls. He pulls people apart. He maneuvers them in any way that he wants to.
He drew defenders, he won aerial duels, he kept the ball under pressure, and he created the space that everyone around him exploited. Koeman's number 9 problem? Gone. Solved. Brobby answered it before half-time.
Well, Brian Bobby was the most surprising. I will say that. Mark spoke about his season at Sunderland. Is he the cutting edge that the Dutch can rely on? Again, time will tell. But I thought he certainly imposed himself on the Swedish defence. Couple of tap-ins, but physically strong, difficult to play up against, and looked a striker today. Looked a very good striker today.
But if Brobby was the foundation, Cody Gakpo was the chaos agent. 2 goals, 1 assist, 4 shots on target, 5 progressive carries, and the kind of 1v1 threat that turns defenders into spectators. There's a version of Gakpo that Liverpool fans recognise, slightly peripheral, searching for rhythm, not quite trusted as the main man.
All that bit where he looked like he was rubbish for Liverpool, that's all just been, it's rope-a-dope. He's been tricking you.
Then there's this version, the one that shows up for the Netherlands in tournament football. Comfortable, central, and genuinely terrifying when he gets the ball in space.
In 3 international tournaments he's played in, he's scored in all of them for the Netherlands. And he is different for the Netherlands, and he looks more confident, he looks more decisive, and it looks more like he's going to impact the game for the Netherlands.
Every time he received it in that left channel, Sweden's defensive shape fractured. They couldn't decide whether to press him or drop, and he punished them either way. Denzel Dumfries didn't score, but he might have been the most complete performer on the pitch.
Would have come in for Dumfries. I felt his performances have always been good, and consistent, and there aren't many who cover the ground that Dumfries does as a wing-back. And then 2 really good assists, inch-perfect passes.
2 assists, 2 big chances created, 8 defensive contributions, 3 tackles won. He stretched Sweden's entire left side throughout the match, giving Gakpo narrower space to cut inside from, while simultaneously bombing forward on every opportunity. When Dumfries crossed, he didn't mess around with touches or hesitation. He just whipped it into the right zone, twice finding runners arriving at exactly the right moment. That's not accidental. That's a fullback operating with real tactical intelligence. Then there's Crescencio Somerville, who entered at half-time when Daniel Malen came off.
Change is Daniel Malen off and Crescencio Somerville on.
And immediately made Sweden's second half feel even worse than their first.
I love the fact that Somerville came on, and again he scored, and what a player he's turning out to be.
Crescencio Somerville, right? Someone's going to buy him this summer for sure. 1
goal, 1 assist, 90% passing accuracy, multiple progressive carries in a 30-minute cameo. That felt like a statement of intent from someone who knows their time is coming.
The way he was running at people, did well to get the goal. When he entered the pitch, there was instant impact. Within 10 minutes, he'd been heavily involved in 2 goals. He completely changed the game, the flow of the game, and I really was impressed with Somerville, how aggressive he was, how direct he was.
He set up the 3rd goal scored by Gakpo, then finished the 5th himself, placing it precisely past the Swedish goalkeeper with no wasted movement. His carrying distance across just 40-odd minutes of action was extraordinary. Nobody could get near him. And quietly behind all 5 goals, Bart Verbruggen was doing the work that kept the margin clean. 7 saves, 5 of them big saves, 0.71 goals prevented. Sweden did create moments. They had stretches, particularly late in the first half, where they found rhythm and pushed numbers forward. Verbruggen shut every door. Without him, this story reads differently. With him, it reads like complete control. What keeps coming back when you watch this game isn't any single goal. It's the way every tactical piece built on the one before it, the way every piece connected, the pressing that started high and didn't drop off, the transitions that went from defensive recovery to attacking threat in 3 or 4 passes, the movement off the ball that created angles before the ball even arrived.
I think what improved today was the transition and the defensive part. There was a clear indication to put high pressure, get the ball back quick, give the ball to the quality players and make things happen, and exactly worked out the way.
This wasn't a collection of talented individuals doing individual things. This was a team playing with a shared understanding of how they want to operate. And that distinction matters more than any statistic.
There's a fluidity to Netherlands though. Lovely play here, out to Gakpo. Oh my god, it's so smooth. Netherlands are absolutely brilliant.
Previous Dutch squads at tournaments have had the names. They've had the ability. What they've often lacked is the coherence, that sense that everyone on the pitch is working from the same plan at the same time. Against Sweden, for the first time at this World Cup, Koeman's side had it. The pressing was coordinated, the width was deliberate, the direct ball to Brobby wasn't random. It was a weapon they chose, read the moments for, and executed perfectly. Clarence Seedorf put it simply after the final whistle: "We're here to go all the way." After watching this, that doesn't sound like an ambassador being polite. It sounds like someone who watched the same game we did and drew the same conclusion. But the honest version of this conversation includes the warning signs, because they're real. Sweden still found gaps. Elanga's goal wasn't a fluke, it was the product of a transition the Dutch didn't track tightly enough. Van Dijk and the back line were stretched in moments during that first half period, where Sweden had 9 shots and genuine momentum. Against France or Germany or Argentina, those same gaps don't produce a consolation goal. They produce a scoreline that looks very different. The attacking machinery is now clearly capable of hurting anyone in this tournament. Whether the defensive structure can hold up against the elite is still genuinely unknown. That question will get answered in the knockout rounds. What we know right now is that the belief running through this squad is the earned kind, not the manufactured kind. It came from actually executing under pressure, against a team with real attacking quality, in a game that had real stakes. That's where confidence becomes something different, something harder to shake. The Netherlands aren't a dark horse anymore. The label doesn't fit after a performance like that.
The Dutch have got so much experience, so much quality, and getting perpetually written off by football fans. It is a madness. From top to tail, this Dutch side have got either experience or exciting young players coming through. It's one or the other, and there's pure class all the way through.
The warning has been sent. 5 goals, a goalkeeper who saved everything Sweden threw at him, and emerging stars who look better every time they step on the pitch. If you want to follow this Dutch team through the tournament, subscribe and share this with someone who still hasn't seen what's coming.